Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of PD and P-Dubs Unscripted. P-Dubs, good to be with you here.
Hey, it's great to be back in the studio talking with you, PD, and we have a special guest today.
Yeah, so we have Natalie Rodriguez joining us today from Hopeful Beginnings. So welcome, Natalie, for joining us here today.
No, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. So you want to share a little bit about yourself maybe, or just kind of a little bit too about Hopeful Beginnings?
Sure, I'd love to. So my name is, again, Natalie Rodriguez. I'm the executive director of Holy Beginnings of St. Mary's. We are right down the street from Emmanuel Lutheran at 510 Plum Grove Road here in Palatine. And our agency has actually been around a long time. It started as just St. Mary's Services in 1887.
Wow.
Yes.
You have been around a while.
That's longer than us as a church, right?
Well, we were 1869 as a church, so we're pretty contemporary with our organizations.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. It originally started in Chicago, though. We weren't here in Palatine. Obviously, well, I wasn't anywhere because I wasn't alive at the time.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But moved to the suburbs, I think like mid 1900s, and moved here to our home in Palatine in, I believe, 2005.
Okay.
Yeah. And what we do is we do a couple things at our agency. We do adoption services, so work with families looking to expand through adoption, and we only do a domestic infant adoption. So really families who are looking to adopt an infant locally here in Illinois. And we also work with mothers who needs to place children here in Illinois because they can't parent for whatever reason.
Right.
And then we have our mental health services, which are completely free to anyone in Illinois, where we work with mothers and fathers experiencing postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, grief and loss over a pregnancy for any reason, and then just general adjustment to parenthood, right? Because we know those little ones just turn our lives upside down.
Yeah, they sure do. I mean, I'm thinking as you were talking, like, when our first son was born, I'll never forget, everybody comes over and, let's look at the baby. And so then everybody leaves, and then it hit me. Oh, he's staying. It was like the weirdest feeling, like, oh, yeah, he's not going away. He's here with us. And like all of a sudden the reality of everything, because, the birth of your first child is so exciting and everything. But yeah, then it was like, wow, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm a mom of 3 boys myself, and for me, it was that second child.
The second child,
because the first one I felt, pretty prepared, there's, 2 of us, my husband and myself, so we kind of could trade off a little bit. But that second one, man, we were not prepared for having both hands full.
Yeah, equal number, right? One, when you have 2. For us, our second birth was twins, so then we were immediately outnumbered.
Yeah.
And so that was like, oh, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
3 against 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and that's what I really love and appreciate about Hopeful Beginnings is, we can really meet parents where they're at, right? Because I know sometimes everyone focuses on that first pregnancy, your first time mom, but postpartum depression, what's interesting is, it can really hit mothers and fathers at any pregnancy, whether it's your first child or your 5th child or your 7th child. It doesn't discriminate. And really raising that community awareness of what are the signs of postpartum depression and destigmatizing, really asking and needing for help is just so powerful, right?
It's very interesting that you included the fathers because, I'm a little older and, I always equated postpartum depression to the moms and I never, ever heard it equated to the fathers until you brought that up. And it's like, well, it kind of makes sense because the father is also going through some adjustments as well as the mom, just in a different way.
In a different way, right? We know, us mothers, we have, hormonal changes in our body, but, really for fathers, we see, that identity piece,
Oh, right.
You're not the same man you were before you were dad. So we want to make sure that fathers are supported. This year, we also took on some male clients who were dealing with grief and loss of a pregnancy. Their partner had a miscarriage and, there's a lot of guilt and there's a lot of feelings around that. And you need sometimes someone to talk to it about, talk through it, get some support so you can move on in life in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
And would you say that you see more people being open and willing to talk about this since it kind of has been destigmatized, like the mental health awareness that we see in the recent years in our country?
Yeah, I think definitely it's easier to talk about now because we see some celebrities being a little bit more honest about life after baby. And just in general, the new generation is learning to have the right language to talk about their mental health.
Yeah. I think this is really just an amazing service that you are providing free to our community. And that's the whole purpose of why PD and I have this segment called Community Connections, because if people are not aware and they're going through struggles after the birth of a child, and there's an organization such as yours just down the road,
Right.
wow, I mean, it can really open up,
Or even somebody
life for
looking
them.
to adopt a child.
Yes.
That'll help because, like you said, there's a lot of different kind of areas that you help families in. It's not just one area, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. We just really, our passion is families and families with young children or families who want to have children, right? We just want to make sure there's someone holding their hand while hopefully they're holding that little one. It's such a vulnerable point in life. And the other service we have two other services I didn't even mention yet. We do have what we call our baby closet. It's completely volunteer run, where we help support local families who might be in need of diapers, formula, baby clothing, because I'm a middle class mother and it's expensive.
Yeah.
And if you're a working class,
Wow.
parents,
Yeah, you're right.
sometimes we all need a little help in those early years with those diapers.
Yeah, diapers and the formula, right?
Yes.
I just remember that being like sticker shock when we started having kids. Like, oh my, that stuff in a little can costs
Yeah.
that much, and
And you can only imagine after, because Sam is 30.
yeah,
So 30 years down the road, how much that has really gone up.
exactly. And then through COVID, all the moms and dads were like, there wasn't enough supply.
Yes.
And that was really a tough thing.
Like, how'd that affect you guys?
It was tough and it was anxiety provoking. We had more calls from local families who said, I can afford formula, but I can't find it.
Wow.
And so we're really lucky. We have some connections with some companies who produce the formula. They donate to us. And, during the really bad days of the shortage, we have the resources to go to those stores during work hours and find the formula. And we use some of our
you
budget
guys
to
are
buy
like
it.
covertly
Oh,
going
yeah.
into, okay.
Not covertly,
It's like,
right? I would say, I'm Natalie. I'm the director.
Aisle five, there's Enfamil.
But seriously, like even there was groups on Facebook, like
Yeah.
Formula Hunters. It was bad for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it on the TV
Yeah,
and
because you
stuff.
couldn't even find it like Amazon or online.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. And I think, honestly, the media made it a little worse because, everybody who could find it, they hoarded a little
course,
bit.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Luckily, things have improved a little bit
That's
this
good.
year.
That's good.
So is that the only location you guys have is the one here in Palatine?
Yeah, so currently that is our only location here in Palatine. We do work with the Community Resource Center, the POC, as
Yeah.
some people might know it. We have office hours there on Fridays. So we find some families it's easier to meet them there, or they just prefer a different location. But the good thing about COVID is we started to offer telehealth, right?
Oh, right.
So when we are doing counseling services with moms or dads, we really ask them, what do you prefer? Do you want to come into our office or do you want to do telehealth? And a lot of times because of transportation and scheduling, that telehealth really, it allows them to receive services where they wouldn't have been able to come in before. So
Okay.
It's been a bit of a blessing.
Good. Yeah. Well, blessings come through challenges, and that you guys have spun that in that way is fantastic. And I know a lot of just counseling has gone from telecounseling. Now there's more and more of it, and it's more acceptable rather than coming into an office. But doesn't preclude the other one, but
Yeah,
it's
and
just another option.
we have some clients who do both or a mix of both.
Yeah.
You know, some days if they're off work, they'll come into the office, and the next week, you know, their schedule changed, so they'll do telehealth. We try and be as flexible as we can with people because life is crazy enough,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
And that probably with the telehealth helps because you said you're the only location.
Yeah.
So, like, how far spread out throughout Illinois do you have people reaching out from?
Yeah, unfortunately, because there aren't a lot of resources like Hopeful Beginnings in communities, we do have clients throughout Illinois. If there are agencies closer to them, we try and refer if they're downstate, but sometimes there isn't anything. So we have, you know, South Chicago, we have a lot of clients who are receiving counseling through us because there might not be a local provider, or we find our clients who are on Medicaid, a lot of therapists don't take that.
Yeah.
So that's why we try and keep everything free. Insurance is really complicated. We just prefer to fundraise at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. And what got you involved in this line of work?
You know, so I have my master's in public policy and administration.
Okay.
I always thought I was going to be a stuffy academic, honestly. That was my goal. I saw
right.
myself with the elbow pads and everything. But out of college, I started working in preschools and
Okay.
working with families. And I found that was really rewarding for me and really my passion, right? And then I worked in home visiting for a while. And when you know, this director position with Hopeful Beginnings became available, it was really of interest to me because of my own journey with my kids and my
Good.
3 pregnancies. So a lot of the work we do resonates with me on a personal level.
That's fantastic. That's why when you know that you're loving what you're doing, because it has that deep personal connection, and you know you've developed a love for people and children. You know, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people what I love about my job too. It's never boring, right?
Mm.
We know with kids, pregnancies, families, like every day is very different.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I mean, that's kind of like being a pastor. You never know what the day is going to bring. And,
Right.
'cause, I mean, we were supposed to record this, I think, a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and then some unexpected things on your
Yes.
end happened.
Yeah.
And so then it kind of adjusted, and we get that and that flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, with our adoption work, sometimes a couple weeks ago, you get a call from a hospital, mom's in labor and she wants to make an adoption plan. And that's great. And we'll go out and we'll meet her at whatever hospital she's at. But it definitely turns your day upside down.
Yeah, I guess I never thought of that, but it makes sense that, you know, I always thought like, oh, it was planned and this is what I'm going to do. But life is life, right? I mean, sometimes, you know, expectant moms are in situations, they're scared, they don't know what to do, and then they're faced with it, and then they make a decision to give the child for adoption. So
Yeah, life is life. And we love when moms contact us, you know, they just found out they're pregnant or, you know, they're 7 months and we have time to work with them
Right.
and make sure they're supported and have resources. But life is life. And if they're in labor and that's the first time we get to talk to them, we're happy to do that as well.
that's good. So how many adoptions do you place per year on average?
So usually it's a pretty small number. It's about 4 to 5 adoptions
Okay.
per year. We are a smaller agency, and like I said, we're only working with local mothers and local families.
Gotcha.
We are able to support families looking to have their home study, what's called a home study done, like if they need to work with nationwide agencies. Our social workers will go out and make sure all their paperwork is done and that they're quality people. And so we are able to provide that service as well.
Good, good. Now, when you say local, what is local? Like Chicagoland area local or
Palatine.
Northwest suburbs
Oh,
local?
yeah. Well, I mean, we focus Northwest suburbs. We are licensed to do the whole state of Illinois, but it's usually, you know, up north of Peoria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, with all the ways that you guys, it sounds like you're almost stretched thin with all the different ways that you help people with the telehealth, the adoptions, and helping all that. What do you see as, like, the greatest need that Hopeful Beginnings has?
Well, we couldn't do our work without our volunteers. We are really reliant, like I said, that baby closet is all volunteer run. So we're relying on volunteers to help us get some of the work done and do some of our case management and just keep the office organized. And also we're relying on our volunteers and our community members to help us do that community education and spread the word that our agency exists, because you never know what mom or what family will need assistance after baby. And I think if we can talk about services before they're needed and normalize it, I think that's only a service to everyone.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, because I would say, honestly, before we met at the thing at Prince of Peace, I didn't really know much about Hopeful Beginnings and how it was just down the road from Emmanuel.
And that's what I hear a lot, honestly. So that's been my mission since I started last January 2022, to just really get back out into the community, right? Because there's so many good people here in Palatine. I live in Mount Prospect, wonderful people in Mount Prospect. And it's such needed services, but also so many people who would love to help, right? So I'm so thankful that you guys invited me today, and we're just down the street if anyone wants to stop and visit.
Absolutely. How have you found volunteerism after COVID? Did you guys take a dip in that? People willing to volunteer, or is it back up and running and people are engaged?
I think it's been interesting. You know, people are starting to engage more. You know, I had the pleasure of reopening the agency after COVID, and I know it was slow at first. You know, it was very like, oh, do we tell everybody to wear masks? You know, do we do vaccination cards? And, you know, luckily life worked itself out. And I feel like this year we're all starting to get that amnesia of what COVID did to us and move forward with life. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of what I was going to ask too, like, you know, the volunteerism, because we know like in churches, like volunteerism took a hit from COVID and different things and how that affected there. So like, what are, like you mentioned, like helping with the closet and some of the like office stuff. What are some maybe other ways people can be involved volunteering, or is that the primarily two ways?
Those are the primary ways. We also do special events. So like I said, we're able to do free services because we fundraise. So we have on May 21st, we're having our second annual Walk for Hopeful Beginnings at Twin Lakes. So we're actually going to have a magic show. It's going to be really fun.
Sounds like a blast.
So, you know, we need volunteers to help with that as well. And you know, like I said, we're just really trying to get the word out. So, you know, moms or, you know, people in the community who know other groups that would like a presentation or like us to exhibit, you know, we're happy to do that because we don't know who we don't know, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about moms groups. I mean, if you can get connected to a moms group, I mean, there's a lot of them around in this area that that's got to be beneficial because they're always connected, talking about various things, and so I can see where that would really be helpful to your organization.
Yeah.
So very cool.
And yeah, that was kind of one of the questions I had here was any events that you would like to promote, and you just kind of talked about that.
Yeah. That was my baby. So our first one was last year because I really feel strongly, you know, we're a family agency. We got to have some family-friendly events, right? So yeah, like I said, May 21st, it'll be at Hopeful Beginnings. All of our information's on our website. It's going to be super fun, I promise.
Okay.
We do our big gala in November, but that's more of a...
So the thing in May is a walk around the Twin Lakes?
Yeah, and if you've been to Twin Lakes, it's more of a stroll.
Yeah.
Which is my speed. I'm not a runner.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's great for families. They have strollers, little ones. We had bubble machines going last year. It was a good time.
Oh, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
We should make an appointment to...
Try to be out there.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Yeah, we're hoping... Pray for us in good weather. Last year we had great weather, but
we understand putting events on outside. It's like praying for good weather. So now I'm not going to pray because I'm notorious when I pray for good weather, it goes bad.
Okay.
And he's like, "Would you stop praying for the weather?"
Like the one time it was like COVID time and we were doing an outdoor worship.
Okay.
And he's praying like, God, please, you know, keep the rain away. As he's praying this, the rain
came.
picks up. I was like, stop praying. I mean, we know, like yesterday, like with Ash Wednesday was yesterday.
Yeah.
We were out in the parking lot doing drive-through ashes.
Oh, my gosh.
With the rain. But thankfully, we had the awning to stay under. Or I think when we done community meals, when we did the drive-through community meals, and we're out there in like 10-degree weather.
Right.
In the dark, and that was a little chilly. So we know what the need of good weather is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yesterday was really bad. It was pretty miserable.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that sounds like a great event. And then Are there any like maybe, and I don't know if you can, but any stories you could share like that, where you can see where some impact with families?
Oh yeah, lots and lots of stories. Let me think for a second. So I can tell you two stories, one about adoption and then one about counseling. So a lot of the adoptions we do, they are quick moving and then they're slow moving. So this was at probably the start of last year. We got a call, young lady. She was pretty far into her pregnancy, and she had found out baby was going to have a lot of health complications. And she just didn't feel like she was in the point of her life where she could parent a child with so many complications. So we started to work with her mom because she was pretty young, to find, a family that she wanted to raise her child, right? So she picked a family and baby was born, and baby did indeed have quite serious health complications and was in the NICU for a couple months. But during that time, it was really beautiful how the adoptive family was able to step in and start loving on that little baby. I have never seen such great advocates for a child. I said, oh man, if I am ever in the position to adopt that, those are the parents I'm going to choose.
The model, yeah.
Yeah, because it was just amazing. And seeing how that little girl has gone from in the NICU, parents concerned at points if she was going to make it, to she just had her first birthday a couple days ago, is incredible. And it's the great thing about our adoption work that we do is we do open adoptions, right?
Okay.
So mom has the right for counseling through us for the rest of her life, but we also help facilitate relationship between adoptive family and birth mother and her family.
Oh, awesome.
So during the summer, they got together, they took pictures. She held her baby for the first time out of the hospital.
Yes.
It was just incredibly beautiful. And it just made me so proud of the work that
is
we
an
do.
awesome story.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really great. I love, like you're saying, you're fostering the relationships.
And that's what's best for kids. We've learned that, when the agency started, life was very different, right? Orphanages and, whatever things you see in movies, right? But it's so different now. It's so much healthier because you think of that child growing up, they know their story. They don't have to make up one in their head about where they came from because they know who their mom is. And they know that they have two families that love them, which is just so beautiful.
Yeah. I know one of my 8th grade classmates, I went to school here, and I didn't know at the time he was adopted. But now, some 40-some years later, I see on a Facebook post that he met his birth mom.
Wow.
And so this was like a couple years ago. So this was maybe he's like 55 and meeting his birth mom. And the picture of the two of them embracing was just fabulous.
Yeah.
But yet what you're doing is allowing that connection right from the get-go. And so I can't even begin to imagine what a person who was adopted, who never got to see or meet their biological mom or dad, what that struggle is in their life. But
Yeah, and we have board members who are adopted persons, and adoption was very different, and they don't have that relationship with their birth family. But what we want for kids is what is healthiest for them,
Right.
and that's knowing their stories and being able to talk about it and ask questions.
yeah.
So,
And even for like the parent giving up their child to know that, hey, I'm never going to see this child again, that they can see them and watch them grow up. Because I'm sure that's got to be hard thinking, I'll never see this child again.
Right. And when they place their child, so much of the work we do in counseling is empowerment, and adoption is empowerment. To carry a child for 40 weeks, you love that child.
Of course.
It doesn't mean you don't love baby. It's just you can't provide the life that you want for them in that moment. And two, when we work with our postpartum depression clients, a lot of them, and the way you kind of figure it out that it's postpartum depression and not just those baby blues, the generalized, feelings after birth, is because they'll have the feeling of, I'm not a good mother, my baby doesn't like me.
Oh.
And so much of that is, empowerment of, well, why do you feel that way? Let's look at the things you're doing right. Really that strength base and affirming, you are getting help because you want to be a good mom and you are a good mom.
Right. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So if a couple were to be considering adoption and found, your organization, can you kind of step us through like the process that, from meeting them to actual adopting a child and like the time frame it takes and all that?
Sure. So the first step is usually we do consults, and we do consults for free where we'll either meet a couple. Generally, it's a couple. We can work with singles, but usually it's a couple.
Yeah.
We meet them either, online through Zoom, or they'll come into our office, and we'll just say, what do you know about adoption and what are you looking for? And what we need to do in those first conversations is making sure that the values that we have as an agency and what they're looking for are aligning, right?
Makes sense.
Because, people have the right to seek out whatever kind of adoption they want, but we only work with families who are committed to open adoption if that's something that the birth mother and the birth family want. And couples that are interested in educating themselves, right, about what's best for children. So after that consult and they say, yes, we love Hopeful Beginnings, we want to work with you, we'll give them an application. It'll talk about, what are their parenting styles? Why are they choosing adoption? We have a lot of families with medical issues, can't have children. So you have to be very transparent.
Yeah.
We'll look at their finances, and, usually we don't give out the application if we don't think they're a good fit.
Okay.
And then they'll go to what we call a home study, right? So it'll be 2 individual interviews and then a couples interview. We'll talk about, how was your childhood? How was your life growing up? If you have any things on your record, we'll talk about that too. What kind of parents do you want to be? Just lots of opportunities to share. One of my social workers will go out to their home, inspect it. They'll have to have fire extinguishers, and if it's near a lake, they'll have to have gates, just basic things like that. We'll write it up all in a report, and then they'll work on what is their book. So our agency still kind of uses old school, paper books,
Hey, no problem there.
We love things you can actually hold.
Tangible.
Absolutely. Yeah. We do online stuff too, but we would love to have the actual books for moms, if they want to look at them. So they'll make their book, and then we'll kind of move on to being in that stage of, we can present you to we call a birth mother, so a pregnant woman interested in adoption, and that mother will be the one that ultimately chooses them to place the child.
Okay.
And part of the process too, we'll talk about, what medical conditions do you feel you're comfortable with? What risk factors, would you be willing to parent a child who has drug exposure? And the couple who wants to adopt has the right to say yes or no.
Okay.
Everybody has different comfort levels and, a different vision of what being a parent will be.
Okay.
So,
well, that's a great sharing. I mean, it hopefully opens up not just for us, but like for the listener. Like, okay, here's the process I'm going through. And like, even the things that you said, the little things like, if you have a pond in the back, there's got to be gates, and,
or if
all of these.
Probably something with pets might be in there.
Yeah. Your vaccination records.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it makes complete sense. Yeah.
So if people would like to find out more about Hopeful Beginnings, where might they be able to find information about what your services are?
Oh, yeah. So we have a great website. It is www.hopefulbeginning.org.
I just looked them on your website right now.
Okay. I'm like, it's the org, it just comes up in my browser. So it's pretty comprehensive, has all of our services. Or you can just call us at the office. We are open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And our number is 847-870-8181. And then you can, talk to a social worker, talk to a staff member. You can talk to me if you want.
Fantastic.
And then you said, I know when we were before recording, you're on social media with Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, we have our Facebook, Twitter. Probably we put the most stuff on Facebook. We have LinkedIn too.
Okay. And I'll do my best to tag all these so people can find them when we share this. And I was just kind of looking at your services. I see there's a new virtual support group, Mom Talk.
Yes, we have our Mom Talk. And that's, we love our group work. It's been a little slow after COVID. People are really looking for individual services, but we do have it.
Okay.
And, like I said, we are open to new ideas. If there's a need in the community for an in-person group, we've tried that. But it's just not taking off at this point.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I got nothing else unless...
No, I'm just really grateful, Natalie, for you dropping by and sharing, hopeful beginnings with us and our listeners. And it's just a wonderful program. Everything you're sharing just is so fabulous. And in the widespread of services that you offer, I think I just want to encourage everybody, come and see Natalie and her team. If you're thinking about adopting a child, or if you're struggling after having a child, take them up on these counseling things. We talked about stigmas. There is no need to be, held back by stigmas. Everybody needs help, and it's not a bad thing to ask for help, right?
Absolutely. And really thank you guys for having me today.
Right. Or if they'd like to volunteer, I'm sure you'd appreciate some volunteers.
We
Just reach out.
appreciate
For sure.
We like to donate. We accept gently used clothing, diaper, formula. We're here for you guys.
And come out to Twin Lakes on May 21st.
And man, we missed a good fun event here, the one with Lou Malnati's, the
Oh,
fundraiser
yes,
with Lou's.
yes.
Oh, come on.
just
Are you going to
missed
do
that.
that again?
We probably will do it
right.
again. Yes.
Please let us know. We love Lou's.
Absolutely.
So I just was on there. I was like, oh man, Lou Malnati's. That one was through February 10th, so we just missed that
Oh,
one.
bummer.
yeah.
So I guess, is there anything else you want to share, Natalie, as we wrap up?
I could talk all day, but no, I think this was good.
Okay, so thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us. Thank you all for listening. If you like it, share it out, and be with you guys next time, and God's blessings.